What's going on, guys? Boss6 here, back to a video, and today, here to give you guys yet another CD collection update. On a Friday, no less. Yes, I'm recording this right before I actually go into work in about a couple hours. I decided to get this one out of the way because I actually have another pile of CDs that I just recently acquired. And I want to get these done and out of the way. Bit of a shorter stack than I usually get, but this was kind of part of the other collection update video that I did about a couple weeks back. And really looking forward to talking about these albums. Some of them I won't go into detail because I plan on doing a retrospective for at least a couple of them. But nevertheless, this is going to be a pretty fun one to go through. And without further ado, let's get into this video. Dark Angel, Darkness Descends. This is the second offering from these LA-based thrash metal underground heroes, essentially. Yeah, like I said, these guys were basically the underground legends in terms of 80s thrash, because if you guys remember the LA scene around the 1980s, especially the mid to late period, you had bands like, Exodus, Overkill, Testament, of course, the big four of thrash, and eventually Death Angel, too, to a lesser extent. But Dark Angel kind of got lost in the shuffle there a little bit. But I will say, in terms of all the albums that came out of this time frame, I would honestly put Darkness Descends up there as some of the best thrash, just in terms of the 80s. Because from top to bottom, the songs on this album are absolutely bitchin'. Of course, you got Jim Durkin on lead guitar, Eric Meyer on guitar as well. Who was the vocalist? Don Dottie was on vocals, and of course you have the Atomic Clock, known as Mr. Gene Hoglan, on drums, just beating the shit out of those skins, as he always tends to do, and of course Mike Gonzalez on bass as well. From top to bottom, this is an absolutely killer album. If I can put the slip back in, there we go. Come on, work with me now here. There we go. Now we're doing good stuff here. But yeah, top to bottom, this is an absolute banger. The opening title track, of course. The Burning of Sodom, which is a pretty big live staple for the band. Merciless Death's a big standout. But even the more longer tracks really reminds me a lot of Hell Awaits by Slayer. Especially Perish in Flames and Black Prophecies. Those songs in particular really have that nice, aggressive feel. It's essentially if Rain and Blood and Hell Awaits had a weird child. That's essentially what this album is. But Death is Certain, Life is Not, and Hunger of the Undead's a pretty good track as well. Yeah, 7 tracks of just pure aggression, which is really cool. Now, they're having a new album come out this year, but from what I've heard, especially with the first single, it's not looking all that pretty. So my expectations might be a little bit in the middle when it comes to the new album. But if it comes out as mid, check out this masterpiece right here. This is an absolute classic. I want to give a big shout out to my good buddy Levi, because he wanted me to check this album out. And I said, fuck it, I'll buy it. And lo and behold, I love it. So yeah, thanks Levi if you're watching this. But yeah, absolutely killer stuff. Not much more needs to be said. Big recommendation. Kreator, Pleasure to Kill. This is also the second studio offering from these German thrash metal legends. Sorry about that. Yeah, these German thrash metal legends. This is actually the remaster edition that I have, in terms of the packaging, obviously. But, yeah, I am still working on my Kreator retrospective, so I won't go into further detail with this album, but don't be shocked if I have this somewhere in the top 3. This is a fucking classic for all the right reasons. It's essentially the German Rain and Blood, if you want to be technical with it. But yeah, I'm not going to go into further detail with it. I will when I do my retrospective. But overall, fantastic album. Big recommendation here. Quick drink. That's better. Pretty Reckless, Death by Rock and Roll. This is the 4th and latest studio offering from these rock slash kind of heavy metal act. I'm not 100% sure. Where are these guys from, by the way? New York. Okay, so this New York rock act A little bit of heavy metal thrown in there too, and a little bit of country, I guess you could say. Um, I do know of the lead vocalist, Taylor Momsen, and this is the one with her, I think with her two sons. If I remember correctly, is this the one with her kids, or am I thinking of someone else? I think I'm thinking of someone else. But, essentially, you have this rock act, came out of New York, and, well, it's an album that was made in 2021. Look, it's not that bad of an album. I actually do appreciate some moments on this album, but there are times where the album kind of goes into weird directions. Um, like a Harley Darling and especially Got So High, but you get some pretty cool songs like the title track that kind of has like a bit of a country vibe to it, which is pretty cool. My Bones, Witches Burn, and So It Went's the big standout because for you wrestling fans, that was actually the theme song for Elimination Chamber 2021, which is pretty cool. It actually just featured Tom Morello, formerly of Rage Against the Machine, doing a solo, so that's cool, I guess. Rock and Roll Heaven's alright. Turning Gold's solid. It's just some solid hard rock / heavy metal with a little bit of a country veneer thrown in there. So I guess that's cool, but it's an alright album. It's kind of middle of the road for me. It's like a 3.5 for me personally. But it's not an album I absolutely hate, but it's not an album I'll be returning to anytime soon. But this is a pretty solid album, all things considered. So if you just like some good old hard rock with some heavy metal and a little bit of country thrown in there, I say give this a recommendation. I say just give it a listen. I do give it a solid recommendation. Sathanas, Into the Nocturne. This is the 12th studio offering from this Blackened Death Metal act. Where are these guys from? This Pennsylvania-based Blackened Death Metal act. I have never heard of these guys, and judging from the influences that this band has, I'm kind of sad I didn't check out these guys beforehand because this actually just came out last year. And if I was able to check this album out when I had a chance, this could have been in my top 35 last year, but I forgot about it, and that's all that needs to be said. But this is some pretty killer stuff right here. Granted, I will admit that the only problem I really have with the album is that it does sound like some of the songs do blend together. But this is just some killer stuff right here. Like, Beyond the Witch is a hell of an opening track. To Bring the Sabbath, Erase from Fire, Raise the Chalice has a really nice chorus to it. There Will Be Demons, Tyrants of the Southern Cross, Where Death and Darkness Entwine is a pretty good closing track. Yeah, this is some damn good stuff. It's a bit on the shorter side. It's like a little over 30 minutes and some change. But this is some killer stuff right here. Absolutely killer stuff. If you like bands like Belphegor, I guess I could say a little bit of Necrophobic, and that's basically about it. If you love bands like that, then I would recommend this. Destroyer 666 maybe to a lesser extent, but overall, pretty good album right here. And it's not like a world beater or anything, but it's pretty good for what it is. So, yeah, if you like Belphegor, Destroyer 666, Necrophobic in a way, then I give this album a listen. I think it's pretty solid. So overall, I do give it a recommendation. Slayer, World Painted Blood. This is the 11th studio offering from these Bay Area thrash legends. I actually have a different version of the album cover because the original album cover is just like a big red blotch essentially. But I did listen to this when I did my Slayer retrospective, so if you want further information, please check that out. I'm going to slide this thing over just a little bit here. But overall, it's a diet version of of Christ Illusion, but it's still really good. I still really enjoy this album, especially the title track. Title track in particular is one of my favorite Slayer songs, but Unit 730 or 731's really good. Hate Worldwide, Public Display Dismemberment. Human Strain's got some solid groove. Nada's God's a really damn good song. I really grown to appreciate that one. Cacophony Red's really good. But the rest of the album is kind of just there for the most part. And you could tell that the creativity for Slayer was starting to dip down a little bit for this one. And then when we got to Repentless, oh boy, the creativity really dipped down. But yeah, this is a pretty good album right here. Really dig this album. If you just want some solid thrash, albeit with a pretty shitty production, because Greg Philbin didn't really do a good job with the production on this album, and Rick Rubin didn't make things better. So yeah, it's the production's a big jumbled mess, but it is what it is. That's kind of what the thing was for the 2000s, especially when it came to thrash with the whole loudness war thing that they had going on. But this is still a pretty good album. I will recommend it, even though it's one of my least favorite Slayer albums. Still good for what it is. I do give this a recommendation. Terrorizer, World Downfall. This is the debut offering from this Deathgrind supergroup, essentially. You get some really damn good stuff right here. This is, I believe, is the 2020 or 2022 remaster from Earache Records, and this has always been an album that has been on my radar because I've been hearing nothing but great stuff from this. And would you guess it, this album is a fucking masterpiece from start to finish. Literally everything about this album just screams hostility, and it's not letting up on the gas pedal anytime soon because holy shit, this album is fantastic. Of course, you get members who eventually will become a Morbid Angel, like, of course, Pete the Feet Sandoval and David Vincent, but you also get Jason Potato, who will later go on to be in Napalm Death, and you got Oscar Garcia on vocals, which I think is really cool. But this is just some killer stuff right here. Of course, After World Obliteration's a great opener. Storm of Stress, Fear of Napalm's the big standout for me on this one. Human Prey, Condemned System, Resurrection, the title track, Rip the Shreds, not to the band right there, Need to Live, Injustice, Whirlwind Struggle. This is just a fucking banger from start to finish. The bass popping up on here is absolutely fantastic. The drum work is absolutely superb. And Oscar and Dave's vocals, too, are just gross on this album. It sounds like a rabid dog. And I love it. I love all of it, damn it. So, yeah, if you want the first beginnings of Deathgrind, look no further than this album right here. If you haven't listened to this album, feel free to check it out. You're missing out on some great stuff. Big recommendation right here. Testament, The New Order. This is the second studio offering from these Bay Area thrash titans. I accidentally fucked up the back because when I went to go take the CDs from my room and put them in here, they all fell on the floor, so they all fucked up. But with that being said, I did a retrospective on this album and on this band back on my channel. I love this album. This is a fantastic album. This is... Re-listening to this album, this one might be my favorite that they have done. I did say that Titans of Creation was my favorite, but that was mainly because of personal bias. Re-listening to this album again, this one might be my favorite one. And it's almost all killer no filler except for the Aerosmith cover of Nobody's Fault. It's not bad. I think it's a good cover, but it sticks out like a sore thumb. It doesn't really fit on this album because you've got a lot of great melodies and great harmonies on this album. Like, Eerie Inhabitants is a fantastic closer, or a fantastic opener to this album. The title track's a classic. Trial by Fire, Into the Pit. Do I need to say anything else about that song? Disciples of the Watch is one of my favorite Testament songs. The Preacher is a full-on jam fest. A Day of Reckoning, and even Musical Death, a Dirge. That's a fantastic, um, that's a fantastic instrumental to close the album. And I'll say right here, right now, this might be Peterson's best, or Skolnick's best performance, because he just lays down the riffs all over the place. It is absolutely wonderful. And of course, this was produced by Alex Perialis and with Johnny Z, aka John Zazula, and his wife Marsha, being producers for this album as well. Yeah, this is a fantastic album. Of course, again, if it didn't have the cover of Nobody's Fault, this would have been an all killer no filler. I still think it is. Again, I do think that the cover really doesn't kill the album for me. It just kind of it's just a filler track. That's literally it. I did listen to a little bit of the remaster version that they did. It doesn't really do anything for me personally. The production sounds a little bit worse to me personally. Sometimes there are albums you really shouldn't touch when it comes to remasters. This is certainly one of them. And overall, this is an absolute banger. 10 out of 10 masterpiece if you ask me. An overall big recommendation. Buy it if you don't have it. Recommended. Tyranny Enthroned, Born of Hate. This is the debut album from this blackened death metal act. I'm not 100% sure where these guys are from, and I literally picked this up on a whim. I don't even know what label this is from, but, well, these guys love Belphegor, so that tells you that right there. Let me see if I can get the slip out and see where, let's see here. Where was this recorded at? Oh, okay, it was recorded at the Firebrand Recording in St. Louis. That's pretty cool. What's the label? I'm not seeing a label anywhere, per se. I don't really know. It's got Anthony George, Steve Lee, Winston Alvarez, and Jesse McCoy. So, there you go. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. Not 100% sure. I think these guys are from St. Louis, though, which I think is pretty cool. But, yeah, I kind of just got this on a whim, because I thought for a second this looked like deathcore, and I'm like, not one of my favorites. But this is actually blackened death metal. And, holy shit, this album is absolutely fantastic. I enjoyed this album for a good chunk of it. Again, it's got those blackened melodies with the more death metal like roars that they really do complement each other. Again, you get a lot of nice Belphegor moments, especially on the opening track, the Harrowing Inferno, Disrupt the Shrine, and especially the title track in particular. Like, a lot of Belphegor moments on that album, on that song as well. But the Mind Vortex, Ophidian, The Suffering Martyr, and Ritual of Agol, I think that's how you say that one. Yeah, killer stuff right here. Really damn good stuff from these guys, and makes me want to check out some of the other stuff. So, yeah, if you love Belphegor, I guess that's it. Just Belphegor. Check this one out. Listen to it. It's really damn good. I give it a recommendation. Now, the last three albums are from all the same band, if I can get them right here. And, well, you can't talk about rock without talking about good old Van Halen. Oh, shit, that almost didn't go well. Yep, all three are from Van Halen, so yeah, let's dive deep into this one right here. So the first one I have is Women and Children First. This is their third album. It came out in 1990 after the classic Van Halen 2. This is where the band was really hitting their stride, if you will, because they came off of two back-to-back classics. Trying to go for the trifecta, and it works and it didn't at the same time. But that's not to say this album doesn't have any classics. There are some classic tracks on this album. Incredible Rock, Fools, Everybody Wants Some. Absolutely killer stuff. But there are some deep cuts on this album, like Loss of Control is really damn good. Tora Tora, that's essentially a Black Sabbath song. It's got some more doomy elements to it, which I think is really, really, really cool. And A Simple Rhyme's pretty cool. Excuse me. There's some really damn good stuff on this album. The one complaint I do have is that there are some filler tracks on this album, but it doesn't really ruin the album in a way. But I wouldn't be mad. If somebody will consider this a classic, I wouldn't argue it, but to me, it's kind of 50-50, at least in my personal opinion. There are some damn good stuff on this album, but there are some songs I don't really care for. But yeah, this will be the last, well, I wouldn't say the last, but because David would still be in the band up until 1984. I thought this was actually his last album. I didn't realize this was actually the third one, but it is what it is. But yeah, this is a damn good album. I'm not going to disagree with those who say it is a classic, but to me, it's a half and half album, at least in my personal opinion. Still really good, but not quite as great as a lot of people say, but I do give it a recommendation. Then we go from one era to another with the Sammy Hagar era with 5150. So, yep, this is the first album with Sammy Hagar, formerly of Montrose, on vocals. And some people do shit on the Hagar era. Let me take a quick drink. Some people do shit on the Hagar era because it's not the Van Halen, or it's not the David Lee Roth era. I don't really see too many complaints with the Sammy Hagar era personally. I do like Sammy's vocals, even though there are times he does kind of sound a little bit pitchy and a little bit whiny. But then again, so did David, so if I'm going to have to bash Sammy, I'll have to bash David as well. But for Sammy's first album, this is a pretty fucking killer record if you ask me. There are some filler tracks here and there, but this is a really damn good album for the most part. Like, Good Enough's a really good opener. Why Can't This Be Love is a fantastic classic. Get Up is a very fun upbeat opener, or upbeat track. Dreams is pretty nice. Love Walks In. The title track's really good. And Inside, even though it's a bit weird, I actually really do enjoy that track for the most part. It's actually really, really, really nice. So, yeah, for an album that was released in 86, this is actually a really damn good album. I actually fairly enjoy this album right here. It's not perfect, but it's good enough if you ask me. Pun not intended. But, yeah, killer stuff right here. I give it a recommendation. And finally, the last one I have is OU812. Now, this is a very interesting album because of, well, what the band were doing at this time. They were kind of just doing a lot of different things. Because, let me see here. Let me check out the track listing. Because the track listing on this album is, a little bit weird, because on the back of the album, the back of the album, it's all alphabetized, but on the actual, when you actually pop the disc in, it starts off with Mine Oh Mine. So, I guess that counts for something, I guess. But this does include one of the longer, if not the longest track that Van Halen's ever done with Cabo Wabo. That lasts over 7 minutes. But, this is a pretty solid album for what it is. Black and Blue's pretty good. Feels So Good's a bit of a standout to me. The aforementioned Mine Oh My. Sucker in a 3-piece is pretty good. When It's Love's pretty good. Yeah, there's some solid tracks on this album, but it does kind of it's a little all over the place in terms of the direction that they were going for. And then, of course, you have for Unlawful Carnal Knowledge, and especially Balance, and then Van Halen 3, This is one of the last Van Halen albums I do think that the band was a little bit inspired, because the albums afterwards, granted I'll probably have to re-listen to them, it sounds like the band were going in like 3 different directions and it really didn't know where they would go to. But, yeah, this is a really damn good stuff right here. Not my favorite Van Halen album, but probably my second favorite of the Hagar era. So, yeah, take that for what it's worth. Really good stuff, though. I do give it a recommendation. Alright, now that I plot my fat ass up, that's going to be it for my CD collection updates. I didn't want to sit back because my back's been hurting for the past couple of days. But besides the point, hope you guys enjoyed this CD collection update video. If you guys did, make sure you guys leave a like, leave a comment, tap that big red subscribe button, and tap the bell so when I upload, you guys will be notified. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Most importantly, enjoy the herd. Talk to you guys next video. Peace out.